Notice that y and x are still letters, right? Everything else is a number when we do that. Just like when we write, y equals 1/2 x plus 7 or something like that. Y and x are still letters, right? Everything else is a number. And this is the way we leave the problem also. We don't do the distribution, okay? It's left that way for a reason. So, all right. So the main thing you got to worry about is the signs on this. If it helps you, to go through and label, what's x1 and what's y1, you might want to do that. Of course, there's the slope here, but it's y minus something equals m times something, or m times x minus something. Right? So basically, I'm just going to start off by filling in the blanks. So the first thing I need, y minus my y value, which would be 7. And then equals, and then I need my slope value there, so that'd be -4. And then I want the x value here, which would be -1. Schedule for today, Brooklyn. I can show you that in a little bit. So the only thing we have to do here in order to simplify this, to finish this, is this right here. We need to deal with the sign on that. So y minus 7 equals -4 times x plus 1. That's the only simplifying that we do with the point slope form. Okay? You don't distribute, you don't try to get y by itself. Okay, that's what slope intercept form looks like. Here we're trying to leave it in point slope form. So the reason we do this is because the same reason, like when we write a problem like this, if I write a problem like this, I say, hey guys, what's the slope of this? What's the y-intercept? You're supposed to be able to tell me that just by looking. Okay, so it's the same thing here. If I give you an equation like this, you should now be able to tell me the slope and tell me the point that it's running through. Okay, so you're like, oh, okay, here's my slope, so that must be -4 is my slope, and then these two things here are the coordinates of a point that it runs through. I just got to make sure that I remember that the signs changed, right? Because it said -1, but we ended up writing +1 here. And we've talked about that a little bit when we talked about like the left and right shifts, how those things moved, switch signs on us. Like it said minus, but we, it actually moved to the right, and it said plus, but it actually moved to the left. Okay, so we're getting some of that sign switch business again. But it says +1, so I've got to remember that's actually a -1 there. And then this says y minus 7, so that's actually a +7 that's being subtracted. And so now I can graph this equation based off of the information I have, or I can use that information now to do something else. But so it's written like this for a reason, that we don't distribute it, we don't bring the 7 over, because we want to be able to pull out the numbers easily. Okay, I can see that's a -1, I can see that's a +7. I can see the slope. Okay, they're not being hidden. Okay, so we leave it like that for a reason. So there's really not much to do. You just drop the numbers in, and you check and you finish any signs that can be switched. Right, double negatives need to return to positives. So really, I'd like you guys to go from here to here in one step. I don't really want you writing it and then writing it again. It's kind of silly. Okay. So if you kind of think about what it's looked like, it's y minus something equals then m times x minus something. So if I take my slope and I put that in, I take my x value, make sure you put the x with the x, so that says -6. So I'm going to change this to +6, since the sign changes. It says -5, make sure you put your y value with the y. So that says -5, so I'm going to change this so it says +5. And I'm done. Anything about writing in point slope form that seems unfamiliar to you guys? You should remember that a little bit. Yes, Brooklyn, I will. You guys there? Okay, thanks, Tatum. So what we've been building towards here is being able to write the equation of a line just given 2 points. And again, this is something you guys should have done before many times. Okay. So we're going to be writing the equation of a line through 2 points. So you probably want to write that down, right? What we're about to do. And we're going to use the slope formula, which I wrote down for you guys yesterday, which was m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Make sure you're doing rise over run. And then the point slope form, which we just talked about. Okay, it's kind of a two-step process. There is another way to do this, okay, which if you're really curious, I could show you. You know, if you want to come chat with me, but you know, it's not any easier and to any great extent. So this method works just fine. Okay, so we're going to find the slope using our 2 points, and we're going to plug the slope and then one of the points in. It does not matter which point you plug in. You could also do this. Y minus y2 equals m times x minus x2. It doesn't matter which one you do, as long as you're consistent. Okay. Notice that if I'm using y1, I also need to use x1. If I'm using x2, I also need to use y2. Okay. As long as I'm consistent, things will work out. We are going to go ahead and turn these both into, or either one into, slope-intercept form when we're done. We are going to go finish that. So our answers will look like this. Okay. That's why they turn out to be the same, because once you go through the simplifying process, it all turns out to be the same line. Okay. So it doesn't matter which one you start with, you'll end up in the same place. But be consistent. Okay. If it helps you, label the points, x1, y1, x2, y2, okay? But you should get to the point where you don't need to do that anymore, all right? Again, watch, I've seen a lot of students mess that up. I've messed it up in the past, right? Like I write x1 and then I write x2, then I write y1 and y2. So make sure you have x, y, x, y. So slope equals, so we got change in y's, we're changing x's. So 7 was my y2, 1 is my y1, -3 is my x2, and -6 is my x1. And I just need to do that math. 7 minus 1 is 6. This turns into a positive, so -3 plus 6 is 3. Of course, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay. So you find your slope first. You always start by finding slope first, okay? Slope tells you how to move from point to point to point to point, okay? So it gives you that relationship between all the different points. So that's why it's so important to find it first. And then we go into the slope intercept form. Okay, it doesn't matter which point you grab, but just be consistent about it. So sometimes it can be helpful to like cross one of them out so you don't go back and look at those numbers. Okay, so I'm going to use the first point. So I'm going to say y minus equals something times x minus something. I just found my slope. That goes in front of the parentheses. I grab my y value, put it with the y, so y minus 1. I grab my x value, put it with the x, so x minus -6. So we plug in one of the points. Okay, you just pick one and plug it in. It doesn't matter which one. And now we're going to simplify this. okay? Because we're going to get slope-intercept form out of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to change these to pluses. Okay, so I got x plus 6 in there. And then I'm going to distribute. So y minus 1 equals 2x plus 12. And we're going to get y by itself. I'm going to add 1. Y equals 2x plus 13. So there's the equation of our line. If you look at it in this in pieces, guys, it's nothing that you guys haven't done over and over and over again. Okay, you guys have found slope before. I know it's been a little while. It's really a place where I see a lot of mistakes. Students just not being careful. Okay, you guys have plugged numbers into the formulas before. You guys have distributed and solved for y before. Okay, so there's nothing about this that's should be crazy. Okay? It's 2 steps. Find the slope, and then plug the slope and the point into slope intercept or point slope and simplify. Maybe 3 steps. Okay. Can you guys find the slope for number 4, please? Good, Peyton. Anybody else finding slope? So I want to talk to you guys real quick about that idea of consistency. It doesn't matter if you do 2 minus 1 or 1 minus 2, as long as you're consistent. Okay, but it does matter that you do x's over or y's over x's. So if I take y1 minus y2, okay, over x1 minus x2, okay, I'm being consistent. I took 1 minus 2, 1 minus 2 for both. Okay, be consistent and you'll be fine. So that gives me negative 10. That's going to turn to pluses over 4, which is equal to negative 5 over 2. Okay, just be consistent. All right. Lord. So now take that slope and plug in one of the points again. I'll use the other point this time. Again, to show you that consistency is all that matters here. So I have y minus equals something times x minus. So I take that slope that I just found, negative 5 over 2. Got my y value, which was 8. And I've got my x value, which was negative 6. Okay, so plugging those in.
With the slope, isn't it, to find the slope, it's y2 minus y1, but wouldn't that be 8 minus negative 2 and not negative 2 minus,
So what's 8 minus negative 2, Lily?
I guess, just negative 10. So it just...
8 minus negative 2 is positive 10.
Okay. Yeah.
And then when you do the other one, which would be negative 6 minus negative 2, that would give you
-6 minus
it would give you -4. So you'd have positive 10 over -4, right?
Okay.
Which is the same thing as -10 over +4, right? So as long as you're consistent, it doesn't matter which way you go. You can do 1 minus 2, or you can do 2 minus 1. Just be consistent. Don't switch back and forth. Don't do 1 minus 2, then do 2 minus 1. That'll mess things up.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that for a reason, to show you guys that it's okay. So I'm going to change those to pluses. We're going to distribute. Okay. So -5/2 times 6. All right, that's all I need to do that. Y minus 8. Of course, -5/2 times x is just -5/2 x. So -5/2 times 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. So I have -15. Okay. So again, just using that trick that I've talked to you guys about, how to multiply fractions times whole numbers. Okay. And then we want to get that 8 over. So I get y equals -5/2 x, and that'd be -7. Consistency, right? So much that what matters here, guys. That it doesn't matter if I do 1 minus 2 or 2 minus 1, just be consistent about it. It doesn't matter which point I plug in, just be consistent about it. If you grabbed the y value from this point and then the x value from that point, it would mess things up. Okay, grab the x and y both from this point, or grab the x and y both from this point, and that's what goes into here. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you do, just be consistent about it. It doesn't matter which one you do first, x 1 or 2, or 2 or 1, doesn't matter. Just be consistent, but make sure you always put y on top and x on the bottom. That matters. Right? It's got to be right that would run. Okay. Usually when people make mistakes on this stuff, it's that they're rushing, they lose signs, they add things incorrectly, like -8 and 2 giving 6 or something like that. Okay, it's not the formula or anything. It's it's just that you're moving too fast and making little sign mistakes, little arithmetic mistakes. Doing things upside down. And make sure you do your y's over your x's. When I post the notes, I will do the other two, but they're no different than what we've done. It's just more examples of the same thing. So, again, if you guys any of you guys are late, I will post the video, of course. But any of you guys that show up late or whatever, that if you just search